One of Indiana basketball's biggest official visitors is coming up in just a couple of weeks. Can Darian Devries and the Hoosiers beat out Michigan and Kentucky?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Indiana basketball updates the floor at Simon Skjodt Assembly Hall. We'll take a look at that, tell you what is a little bit different about it and why it's really, really neat. Also, some best bets for Big Ten football, according to ESPN, and we'll see if you like what they have to say about the Hoosiers. But we begin today's episode with some more recruiting talk, because as we're getting closer, right, to the end of August and into September and of course October as well, the Indiana Hoosiers for basketball have 6 big visitors coming up over the next several weeks, starting at the end of August and running through mid-October. And one of those names that Indiana is continuing to trend up for that I think has a really good shot of happening is the 5-star top 10 player, Anthony Thompson. He's a small forward. He could play power forward if he wanted to. He's 6'8", 205 pounds. He's a 5-star. No matter where you look, 247 says he's the 10th overall player in the class of 2026. And he's taking an official visit to Indiana on the weekend of September 12th. Okay, September 12th through the 14th is when Anthony Thompson will be here. And people in the business, people in the recruiting circles and around IU are feeling like the Hoosiers are in a really good spot here. And I'm one of those people as well. I believe that Indiana will be in this thing till the end. Now, you're battling with teams like Ohio State, Michigan, Kentucky is in there as well. And here's another example of an opportunity, really is a better word to use, for Indiana and Darian Devries to beat out some of those teams and prove that big-time kids can come and play at IU, that you can win a recruiting battle and ultimately and hopefully turn them into a really good player. And that's what Indiana has to sell, right? We've talked about that with Deron Rippey, Tay Kinney, if that's a possibility, right? You're going to have to beat out Louisville for Tay Kinney. I think you got to beat out Kentucky for Deron Rippey right now. But Anthony Thompson is a prime example. Davion Atkins is a good example. Junior County is a good example as well. That's not even talking about guys like Latrell Almond, who have already visited Indiana in previous months before this. And so you've got a chance to win some serious recruiting battles. And I've told you on this show, of the 6 big visitors that are going to be in Bloomington over the next several weeks, I think Indiana gets a commitment, possibly 2. I just don't believe that you go 0 for 6. I don't think you completely miss out on these big name kids that are coming in over this span. And you could also pick up a commitment from somebody who's already been here too. You can't forget about that, right? Just because they visited a few months ago doesn't mean that they aren't still interested. And I put Latrell Almond, top 50 player, I put him in that category as well. But in terms of Anthony Thompson, this is someone who plays in the small forward spot, can play the power forward spot, or if you need him to just bring the ball up the floor, cool. He'll do that too. Playing out of the state of Ohio, he plays for Indiana Elite. You have a real chance to get maybe not a hometown kid, but pretty darn close to a hometown kid. Someone who everybody in this state is very well aware of in the class of 2026. He handles the ball really well for a big man. He runs the floor like a gazelle. And if you start talking about how that could fit Indiana's new revived system that I think we're going to have under head coach Darian Devries, Anthony Thompson fits that narrative almost perfectly. We've talked about that a lot with the guards, but this is a really unique situation for the couple of forwards that Indiana is actually going after. It's guys like this and Anthony Thompson who they crash the glass, they can put the ball on the floor, and they can lead the fast break. You don't have to pass it to a guard. You don't have to hold it up and crumble down and wait for the defense to leave. Oh, okay, good. All right, here you go, guard. All right, here we go. You don't have to do that with somebody like Anthony Thompson. He was born to handle the basketball. And so He can lead the break. He can run in transition. He's a lefty, which is just so pure when he shoots it as a big man. He can shoot it off the catch. He can shoot in transition, one power dribble, sidestep, and let the thing fly. He has all of those capabilities, and that's just running the floor. That's not even talking about 5-on-5 half court offense here. He's got the size and the ability to post up. He has the high pick and roll down. Gets so much attention that he garners, or he gets double teamed so much that he's able to find his open teammates and makes the right pass and is a team player from what I can see on the film. And so Anthony Thompson's a complete dude, and you would hope so, right? As a 5-star player, top 10 dude in the class, he can just do everything. And this is someone who you bring him on your team, whether it's Indiana or Michigan or Kentucky or Texas or whoever the case may be, he instantly becomes one of your best players and somebody that you can just give the ball to and get out of the way. Maybe not at the end of the game with him running point, obviously, but you need a bucket, you can go to Anthony Thompson. One thing I'd like to see from him is when he does post up, he's very, what's the best way to say this? Again, 6'8", 205. There's not a whole lot of beef there yet. A lot of his post up is great footwork and how can I get an open shot or a more open shot rather than lower my shoulder into you Shaquille O'Neal style and bump you out of the way. He's a lot more finesse down in the lane, which is fine for now, and especially at the high school game because his shot and touch is so good that he can make it work. He's going to have to get a little bit bigger and stronger in the Big Ten or the SEC or wherever he goes, and I think that he will. That's something I'm not overly concerned about. I'd rather teach you, hey, let's put 15 pounds on you and show you how to throw somebody out of the way rather than teach you how to do the Kevin Durant fadeaway. That's kind of where I'm at with all of this. And so I think Anthony Thompson is a really, really good player. I think it's down to Indiana, Michigan, and Kentucky. Some folks are talking about Texas in there. I'm not too sure. Some people talking Ohio State in there being his home state, right? Being the Buckeyes there. But look, you're going to have to always beat out Kentucky because Mark Pope and what he did in year one, they're always going to be there. Heck, even with Cal, obviously, Kentucky's always going to be there for big time players. And Dusty May at Michigan is building something really strong. That's a really good coach at a really good program. And you're talking about two dudes in Mark Pope and Dusty May. They're early in their current school career, but they've proven it in longevity. Darian Devries has that to an extent, but at least you are recruiting against other coaches who are young at their current places. DeVries, year one, May, year two, right, I think, and then Mark Pope going into year two. Really good coaches and programs are going after Anthony Thompson, and the Hoosiers are right there. And this is not blowing smoke, and some people and fans are getting frustrated because we're talking about recruits and nothing's happening. Well, all these visits are coming up, and I wouldn't talk about them if Indiana didn't have a chance. There's several names in the class of 26 that I think are incredible dudes, but Indiana doesn't have a shot. So I'm not going to talk about them and waste your time or waste my time. Anthony Thompson's not a waste of time. Indiana's in on him. He'll be here the weekend of September 12th through the 14th. And just to keep you in mind or keep you updated and for you to keep in mind, I mentioned Davion Atkins earlier. Remember, he's the third-ranked center in the class of 2026, a 4-star, top 35, top 40 player. He'll be here in Bloomington that weekend too. So you have a really good chance to have a really good weekend that September 12th through the 14th with two really, really good players. But Anthony Thompson highlights it all. He would easily be your best recruit and best commit in quite some time here in Bloomington. And that's coming up in just a couple of weeks. So the Indiana Hoosiers trying to beat out teams like Kentucky, Michigan, and others for a top 10 player in Anthony Thompson. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll flip over to football for a moment because there's some best bets in the Big Ten for the upcoming football season with win totals, making the playoff, or winning it all. We talk about that coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet. Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take up to hours to kick in, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in just 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked for you, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men right now have already made the switch. Head to rugiet.com/lockedoncollege and use that code LOCKEDONCollege to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. All right, welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. We're over 6K and looking to push even further than that. So thank you so much for doing that. Also, drop your thoughts down in the YouTube comments. Are you an Anthony Thompson fan? Do you think Indiana can make it happen? Or are you just kind of wait and see mode on Indiana basketball recruiting? Let me know down in the YouTube comments. Also like the video, that helps us out a ton as well. And for my audio listeners, make sure you're following, have those notifications turned on. Don't want you to miss any new episodes, like a squad show coming out today with a full squad, folks. We had 10 plus people this week for a full 2025 season preview, so you don't want to miss that. That's coming out this Thursday afternoon. If you're watching this or listening on the day it comes out, this will be this afternoon, so be sure you check that out as well. Let's talk some football because, folks, we have football this weekend. This weekend, we have college football, and I could not be more excited. And it is week 0. Some people are fired up, some people are not. But this is more talking about the best bets in the Big Ten this upcoming season. ESPN puts out this article. They did it for all the conferences, and it's actually pretty cool. They talk about who you should take, who they think is going to go over their win total, who they think is going to go under their win total. Of course, we did that all summer long here on the Locked On Podcast Network on our squad shows. We talked about every team, every single one of them, on their over or under on their win total. So I'm curious on kind of some comparisons here. And after looking through, they agree with us on some and they disagree with some on others. They're talking about Ohio State going over their 10.5 win total. Seems like more people are all of a sudden jumping on the Buckeyes, which is not a crazy thing. They're a really talented team. Just seemed like all summer long, it was like, yeah, Penn State. Yeah, Penn State. Penn State's the best team, then Ohio State, Oregon, and then kind of whatever afterwards. But all of a sudden, as we get closer to the season, I don't know if Julian Sayin is the one that is starting to swing people. That's the starter there in Columbus. But now it's like, oh, yeah, Ohio State, duh. So I don't know. 10.5 seems like a lot to me, but it is what it is. They're talking about Iowa going over 7.5. How about Nebraska under 7.5? I like that bet. I don't know, man. I haven't seen it yet at Nebraska with Matt Rule. So got to figure that one out. Penn State over 10.5. That's a tough one. They're also talking about Michigan making the college football playoff. That's pretty wild too when you look at that. And so to move this over here so I can see this a little bit better, talking about some teams in terms of their win totals, right? We know 3 teams from the Big Ten have a 10.5 win total: Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon. Indiana's in there at 8.5. I'm slamming the over. I've told you that. Hit the over on this Indiana football team. 8.5 seems disrespectful. If this line for the Hoosiers was 9.5, I would get it. And I would be a little worried about it. And I would be willing to say, yeah, maybe take the under because of the game against Illinois, because the road game against Iowa, and your 2 big road games against Penn State and Oregon, who are considered, I think, first and third in the Big Ten. If the win total was 9.5, I would have much more of an argument and debate here. I'm confident that this is a 9-3 football team for the Hoosiers. Just in terms of the talent on the roster, you're a 9-3 football team. And take the Penn State and Oregon games out, right? Take those out. 12-game schedule, take those away. Now you're down to 10. You split Illinois and Iowa, and you win all the other games you're supposed to, you hit it. You're flirting with another college football playoff appearance, and you also are going to hit your over as well. So that's the way that I look at it. And that's a big if, right? Because if you're Indiana, I've talked all summer that, yeah, you can beat UCLA or Michigan State or Maryland or Purdue, right? The teams on your schedule that you are clearly more talented and better than. I think you have a better coach, better talent, better staff, but upsets happen. Right. Upsets happen in college football. And for whatever reason, the closer we get to the season, I'm getting more nervous about this Indiana team. Not because I don't have confidence in them, just because college football it's exciting and upsets happen and anybody can win in this conference on any given Saturday for the most part, unless you're Northwestern. And so, or Purdue. And so, which I do think Purdue is better this year, by the way. I don't know how good they'll be, but you have to get better, right? Surely it's better. And I hope so for our buddy Nick Arvin of Locked On Boilermakers. But anyway, Indiana has to find a way to not screw up the littler games or the games that you're going to be favored in. Can you win those? And if you do, yeah, you'll crush your over at 8.5. Indiana's odds right now to get into the college football playoff plus 550. So if you're into this sort of thing, you kind of know what I'm talking about here. Plus 550 to make it to the college football playoff, 40-1 odds to be the conference champ, and 150-1 odds to be the national title winners. And so I still think the Hoosiers are a good bet. Is it just a guarantee to make the playoff? No. And our buddy Brian Smith of the Portal Podcast, who joins us coming up on tomorrow's show, just to give you a little preview, he talks about you got to win certain games. And you have to really impress the committee, probably over-impress the committee if you want to get in this season because of how last year went. Whether you think that's fair or not, it is what it is. I think he's kind of right. And I think you do have to make up for what happened last year, which was playing not the toughest schedule in the world and then losing in game one of the college football playoffs. It was a tough game, tough environment, whatever, but people use that as, yep, they should have been in, told you so. And it's like, that's not how that works. But regardless, you're talking about humans on the committee who sit in a closed door, who have no repercussions and can do whatever they want. And they're also not the brightest in the world. So at the end of the day, yeah, you have to over-impress. I think Indiana on the over is a good bet, though. 9-win team, even if that's the case. 9-3 in year two with Curt Cignetti, I'm cool with that. With a harder schedule, yes, a good team still, but people are not overlooking you. I think that's okay. Would it be disappointing to not make the playoffs? Absolutely. Absolutely. But 9-3 at Indiana, if you take out last year in the history of this football program, 9-3 is a really good thing. It is. It's a good thing. And I think I'm starting to come back around to that, maybe come back down to earth just a hair. 9-3 would be a good season. And that would still give you a chance, at least in the conversation of the college football playoff. So I think that's a good bet to take the Hoosiers on the over. Illinois' win total being 7.5 is wild to me. I'm not buying the hype on the Illini, but I do think they're an 8-win football team. So give me that one. Absolutely. Also give me the over on Washington too. And their odds to make the college football playoff is plus 900. If you're into this sort of thing, I'd sprinkle a little bit on that because I think Washington's a dark horse in the Big Ten. I think they're a dark horse to make the college football playoff out of this conference. Other than that, some of these win totals are just brutal, man. Purdue and Northwestern 3.5. Again, we've talked about some of these. Wisconsin's 5.5. Our buddy Ryan Herrings at Locked On Badgers, man, he was not happy on today's squad show because we all picked Luke Fickell to be the coach that gets released this year. I just don't see it, man. I don't see Wisconsin being good, and their schedule's the toughest in the country. So USC at 7.5, I don't know. I'm not buying that just yet. Michigan 8.5, I'm not buying that just yet, to be honest with you. And I'm taking Oregon under 10.5. I'm taking the Ducks under 10.5 on this season, and that's because the Hoosiers are going to go to Eugene and win. Sorry, Spencer. It is what it is. So there you go. Some of the good bets for the Big Ten coming up in this college football season because it's literally here. It's not even around the corner. It's not even down the hall. It's right here. It's now with the college football season. So, all right, let's go to a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more Indiana basketball, as nothing groundbreaking, but the floor has been updated at Simon Skjodt Assembly Hall. We'll tell you what happened, tell you why I think it's pretty neat right after this here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you needed a service. If the person didn't answer the phone, did you wait for them? Did you call them back? Probably not. You probably just moved on and chose somebody else. That's why you, as a business owner, need Open Phone, so you never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more questioning on, hey, who's answering this? Who's doing this? Did you answer this phone call? Nope, you got it. One number for everyone in the company, if that's the way that you like it, okay? See why over 60,000 businesses trust Open Phone today. They're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedoncollege. That's OPENPHONE, openphone.com/lockedoncollege. They'll even port over your existing numbers for free. Open Phone, no missed calls and no missed customers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind. It's this weekend. I can't wait. Whether you've got your eye on big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get into the game. You've got Kansas State this weekend. How about Avery Johnson, a max discount? They've got basically a free pick. It's 0.5 passing yards. That's what you can get right now. Do you think Max Johnson completes a single pass for 1 yard? If so, Prize Picks is going to give it to you. All right, and then coming up next week, I think that's next week, for the NFL season opener, Dak Prescott over or more than 0.5 passing yards. Do you think it's going to happen? I sure do. Prize Picks is doing that for you right now. So be sure you get on there today, download the Prize Picks app, and use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here again, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. And this final segment will be a little shorter because it's nothing crazy. It's not groundbreaking news or anything like that. Just something that Indiana released and kind of put out there to the public is the idea that they updated, or not even the idea, it's the fact that they updated the floor, the court at Simon Skjodt Assembly Hall. And they didn't make any major changes, so don't worry about that. We don't have to worry about, some folks getting upset that they made, they took the state of Indiana off the center of the floor or anything like that. They didn't do that. They literally just made the floor brighter. They made it look more white almost, rather than that old style, not orangey color, but the older school looking wood. They just upgraded it and updated it and made it look more bright. So when you walk in, it's impossible not to see the pop of the floor when you walk into the building. And Indiana basketball posted a video of this on their social medias yesterday, and it looks really, really good. The only major changes, and again, they're not even major, that I can see, the red circle behind the state of Indiana, the white state of Indiana with the IU logo is still in the middle of it. The circle, the red circle that kind of goes around it, it just kind of fades out going to the bottom. Other than that, they didn't really make a whole lot of changes. I would play the video for you, but don't think I can do that because of copyright stuff. So just go check out the Indiana Hoosiers on social media. X is probably the easiest way to do it. And you'll be able to see it. I just think it needed it, and it looks good. It just looks newer, nicer, and better. And does that change anything about what this team does on the floor or performance or anything? No, it's just an aesthetic thing. Really, it is all it is. It just looks better, and hopefully it just Yeah, I mean, it's just impressive, really. I like it. Again, this is not groundbreaking news right here. I just thought it was important to at least talk about it, and the fact that Indiana's still looking to make slight upgrades and changes to Assembly Hall. And I know there's some fans who are like, nope, I want to keep it the same. I want to go back to the 60s and I want to keep it that way. Totally understand. That's not really reality here. And so you still have the old school feel. It's still one of the best arenas in college basketball. It's a cathedral of college basketball. It is. It absolutely is. And for anybody that gets a chance to go, whether you're an opposing fan that happens to be watching or listening to this, man, go to Assembly Hall. It's incredible. And I'm happy that they're continuing to put money into the building, into the facilities, into the program. We've seen it on the football side. You're seeing it in basketball as well. Not groundbreaking stuff, but Indiana does update the floor. Looks really, really good. And to be honest, I think it needed it. And I'm excited for everybody to see it in person this season. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here, and pumped for tomorrow's episode as Brian Smith, our Locked On recruiting expert, is also the host of the Portal podcast, which is here on the podcast, or on the Locked On Podcast Network, rather. You can check that out just wherever you get your podcast. He joins us tomorrow as we talk about if he thinks Indiana can make it back to the college football playoff, also some recruiting updates, and why he thinks Fernando Mendoza could be the answer at quarterback. That's coming up on tomorrow's show. Don't miss today's squad show as well. It's a full squad and a full 2025 season preview. All right, check out the squad show tonight, and we're back tomorrow, Hoosier fans, for another episode. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.